Right friends, welcome back to English Comprehension and Vocabulary. Sorry for the delay because previous session extended beyond 12 o'clock and this is the 43rd session and we are going to deliberate on a timely step, and tomorrow we are going to deliberate on health policy now to walk the talk. So, tomorrow our discussion will be on health policy now to walk the talk. This is with regard to the National Health Policy 2017, which was announced a few days ago, and this is Economic Times editorial of 23rd March. We are going to deliberate tomorrow. Today this is a timely step. Why the editorial is a timely step? Because of the reason that here if you see, recently central government announced rupees 8,586 crores for capital infusion to 10 weak banks whose financial position is not satisfactory. For them, what the central government has done? Central government has given capital allocation, at the same time imposed several conditions. Several conditions were imposed. Please make turnaround. If you are not able to make turnaround, we are not going to save you. Initially it gave some money, later on it advised, please turn around, otherwise we are not going to save you. So, that is the message sent by the central government. Here, as per RBI's financial stability report, public sector banks saw the proportion of their gross NPAs almost double in the 12 months period by reaching around 12% by September 2016. The Finance Ministry has identified 10 of these public sector banks for urgent corrective action, and it is causing imbalance in their balance sheets. We are going to deliberate what is meant by balance sheet and all. So, the crux of the article is the central government has given some money to weak banks. They are having high non-performing assets. At the same time, central government has stated, please make a turnaround, please be on the profits path, otherwise nobody is going to save you, please make a turnaround. That is the message, and exactly one word is used, that is tough love in the passage. Tough love, a word is used in the passage to indicate the present circumstances with regard to the weak public sector banks. These are public sector banks, these are old generation private sector banks, then these are new generation private sector banks, ICICI Bank, S Bank, HDFC Bank, like that. Foreign banks operating in India, Citibank, HSBC, Standard Chartered, these are examples. Now, the biggest problem is with the public sector banks only, and this is with regard to non-performing assets. Several people have taken the loans, they are not paying back. For public sector banks, they reached 12%. So, 12% of the loans are not being serviced at present. And this non-performing assets we discussed several times. After 90 days, they become non-performing assets. First 12 months, they are called substandard assets. In the NPA stage, first 12 months, substandard assets. Beyond that, doubtful assets. So, this terminology please do not forget, and main reasons for NPAs I have given here, please go through them. Why there are so much high percentage of NPAs? NPAs reached 12% for public sector banks, but not for private sector banks. What is the main reason? Those things I have given here, please go through them. Then provisioning. Why the banks are reporting losses? Once the loan becomes a non-performing asset, then they have to keep more and more money as provisioning aside from their profits. each and every standard asset. That means when the loan is being paid back also regularly, then also they have to keep provisioning, but that will be very much less. But once loan becomes non-performing, then they have to keep more and more money from their profits aside, which is known as provisioning, right. What is the way to solve this non-performing assets? This non-performing assets can be solved if there is genuine reason, then this restructuring is one option. If there is no genuine reason, then there are 6 ways we discussed several times. When there is a genuine reason, there is a restructuring of loan. If there is no genuine reason, then debt recovery tribunal. Bank can go to debt recovery tribunals. Bank can sell the loan to asset reconstruction companies. Then they can file criminal cases. They can file winding up petitions against the companies in a court of law. At the same time, strategic debt restructuring is there. Here debt can be converted into equity. So here loan can be converted into ownership. At the same time, S4A is there. Here the debt will be bifurcated into sustainable debt, at the same time remaining equity. So here sustainable debt should be minimum of 50%. So here this is maximum of 50% of the debt can be equity or quasi equity. So there are several mechanisms devised by the central government. There are several mechanisms devised by the central government, but they are not giving sufficient desired results. Then in the economic survey, to solve the problem, a bad bank was also proposed. Bad bank is Public Sector Asset Rehabilitation Agency or PARA. Public Sector Asset Rehabilitation Agency or PARA, which is known as a bad bank, right. Having learned this, let us go ahead to the passage. State-owned banks, that means public sector banks, told to submit turnaround plans should strive to address their NPAs. What is meant by turnaround? Turnaround means financial recovery of a company that has been performing poorly for a long time. The meaning of turnaround, this word you come across several times. Please understand this carefully. Turnaround means it is the financial recovery of a company that has been performing poorly for a long time. So, to make a company turn around, the companies or CEOs must devise a clear strategy, including sometimes change in the management, at the same time implement problem solving technologies or problem solving strategies. So, here the central government stated clearly in unequivocal terms. I will come to that a little while from now. So, central government informed public sector banks to submit turnaround plans. So, they are not in good shape. How to bring them into good shape? That is a turnaround. When the company is not doing well for a longer time, then the company is to be made into the profitability zone, that is a turnaround, and public sector banks should strive to address their NPAs. Strive means work very hard to make something happen, because this NPAs problem is not a small problem. NPAs problem is a big problem, and to come out of that big problem, you have to work very hard to make something happen. So, India must strive hard to narrow the gap between haves and have-nots. That is the example I have given here. Strive means to work very hard to make something happen. You should strive hard to get through IBPS PO examination. So, here please work hard to make a turnaround. The finance ministry's unequivocal missive to 10 state-owned lenders. State-owned lenders means public sector banks. The finance ministry's unequivocal missive. What is unequivocal? Unequivocal means telling something in clear terms. Several times you come across this word unequivocal. The meaning of unequivocal is expressed in a clear and certain way, that is unequivocal. The Prime Minister announced in unequivocal terms that tax evaders will be prosecuted. So, it is a clear message when something is expressed in a clear, lucid way, without any apprehensions, without any scope for iota of doubt, that is unequivocal. Missive. Missive means an official or formal letter is known as missive. So, let us come back to the passage. The passage says the Finance Ministry's clear message, clear formal letter to 10 public sector banks to submit time bound turnaround plans. Time bound turnaround plans, I already explained turnaround, or forsake any further capital infusion from the government. Or forsake. What is the meaning of forsake? Forsake meaning is abandoning or stopping something. Please look into this. I have given two examples. Forsake. One is abandoning or leaving, or stopping something. Here you see in the first example, the two children were raised by their uncle from the childhood and now he has forsaken them. That means he abandoned them altogether. Then he has decided to forsake his government job for joining politics. So, somebody is a senior officer in government, he resigned, he want to join politics. So, he has decided to forsake his government job for joining politics. That means to stop doing or to stop having something is forsake. So, what the government told public sector banks? Please make a turnaround or forget about further capital infusion. We are not going to support you. Please submit your time bound turnaround plans or forget about our capital infusion from government in future. We are not going to support. So, that is, or forsake any further capital infusion from the government is a small, that is a small yet timely step in the right direction. So, now at last central government has given strong missive to the public sector banks: perform or perish. Either you perform or perish. So, that is exactly the meaning of this paragraph. It has got several meanings. It, please look into this. It means until now. He has not come yet. It means even at this stage. He studied up to graduation in a rural area, yet he has ability to become an IAS officer. Then yet means to add something with a surprise. He is bald and overweight, yet he looks handsome, right? Then a timely step, let us see, as a Reserve Bank of India, as the Reserve Bank of India had flagged. What is meant by flagged? Flagged means to mark for attention. Flagged means to mark for attention. Reserve Bank of India flagged. That means it marked for attention. The report flagged several discrepancies in the operation of Mahatma Gandhi Narega. So, here you see, as the Reserve Bank of India has marked in its last financial stability report. Financial stability report is produced by Reserve Bank of India twice in a year, if I am not wrong. Flagged, that means it highlighted risks to the banking sector remain worryingly high. There are high risks to the banking sector. The continuous deterioration in asset quality, there is a continuous deterioration in asset quality, especially at the public sector banks. Especially at the public sector banks, has led to low profitability and substantial value erosion to the principal shareholder, the government. In the public sector banks, who is the majority shareholder? Majority shareholder is central government. So, here because of deterioration in asset quality. Deterioration in the loans, that means increase in non-performing assets is stated as deterioration in asset quality. So, the continuous increase in non-performing assets, especially at the public sector banks, has led to low profitability and substantial value erosion to the government, because government is the principal shareholder. Because of losses, because of high non-performing assets, banks shares are falling, and who will lose? Government will lose, because government is the principal shareholder, right. Here substantial means of considerable size. Then this erosion, last week we discussed, gradual reduction of something is erosion, right. So, let us go back to the paragraph, that is substantial value erosion to the principal shareholder, the government. As the RBI's report pointed out, public sector banks saw the proportion of their gross NPAs, or you can say gross non-performing assets to total advances, almost double in the 12 months through September 16 to 11.8%. So, they almost doubled to 11.8%. Right. So, around 12% are now gross NPAs that the ministry has identified 10 of these public sector banks who have high gross performing assets to administer a dose of tough love. What is the meaning of tough love? Please look into this. Tough love means a mixture of toughness and warmth used in a relationship, especially with an adolescent. So, if the son is around 18 years, 17 years, how the father or mother has to guide the son? Sometimes parents must be tough. At the same time, sometimes they have to show the warmth. So, here tough love means at the same time you should be in a position to act tough wherever required, and at the same time you should act with love also. That is known as a tough love. It is the right word to deal with the adolescent population or the age group of around 14 years to 20 years. So, this is very much important word, tough love. Several parents fail to give a dose of tough love to their adolescent children, which is very much essential to transform them into responsible citizens. So, this tough love is a mixture of toughness as well as love, you can say. So, here the ministry has identified 10 of these public sector banks to administer a dose of tough love. Why it is called tough love here? Because on one hand, central government is giving money for capital infusion to the banks, and at the same time please prepare turnaround plans. So, it is tough love. It suggests they are the ones most in need of urgent corrective action. Urgent corrective action is required. In fact, RBI Deputy Governor Viral Acharya told bankers in a speech last month that the problem of bad loans has come to such a pass that we simply don't as a society have any excuse or moral liberty to let the banking sector wounds fester and result in amputation of healthier parts of the economy. We cannot allow, as responsible citizens of the country, to let the banking sector wounds fester. Fester, what is the meaning? That is fester. So, here this is used in the context that NPAs in the banking system are going out of control. So, it is just like a wound which is not being cured, no antibiotics are given. So, they are being proliferated, the wounds are being proliferated. So, this is a festering. We should not allow bank NPAs fester further, ultimately to amputate. Please, you see here, ultimately it results in amputation of healthier parts of the economy. So, this Viral Acharya's version is, unless we take corrective steps, what will happen? This gross bank NPAs will fester further, that means will increase. Overall, ultimately they will lead to amputation of the economic system, or you can say, what is the meaning of amputation? Amputation is removing one part of the body. Amputation means removing one part of the body. So, here if the bad loans are not cured, if the bad loans are not cured, they will fester subsequently. Festering, he is comparing with this type of wound. So, they will fester subsequently and ultimately it will lead to amputation of one part of economy. So, cutting off of one part of economy, right. So, this is one important sentence. How you understand this? This is because he is telling the reason also. In the previous paragraph, he stated if the bad loans are not treated or not cured, then they will fester further, just like wounds without antibiotics. Subsequently, they will result in a situation just like amputation of healthy parts of the body, amputation of part of Indian economy. This is because commercial lenders have a central role in the economy by serving to harness public savings and directing the flow of crucial credit to most productive industrial and infrastructure sectors. What is the purpose of bank? Purpose of bank is harness public savings in the form of deposits. Harness. Harness means to collect and control something, to use it effectively. The main purpose of the banking system is to harness public savings. To harness public savings means to collect public savings in the form of deposits and subsequently directing the flow of crucial credit to various industrial and infrastructure sectors. So, collect money from the public, or you can say harness money from the public and subsequently lend it to important sectors like industry as well as infrastructure. Because of this commercial lenders, he is telling the reason in comparison to the previous paragraph. This is because commercial lenders have a central role in the economy by serving to harness public savings and directing the flow of crucial credit to most productive industrial and infrastructure sectors. Right. The next paragraph is, and when public sector banks with their revolving door top managements, why he used? He used this because the top management, they may be there for 6 months, they may be there for 1 year. One bank CEO will become CEO of another bank. There is no fixed tenure and they are being revolved like anything. One bank CEO may retire in 6 months, one bank CEO may become CEO of another bank within 6 months or 1 year. There is no fixed tenure. That's why he used with their revolving door top managements have little incentive or accountability. There is no incentive. In fact, to make turnaround, there must be incentive. Incentive means something that encourages a person or organization to do something. So, here incentive means something that encourages a person or organization to do something. So, proper incentive must be there or accountability to redress the burgeoning imbalance in their balance sheets. The burgeoning imbalance in their balance sheets, that must be set right, but for that the basic problem is top management is basically revolving door management without fixed tenures. At the same time, they have little incentive. Incentives are not there. Incentive we already learnt. Redress. Redress means to set right an undesirable or unfair situation. Redress means to set right or an undesirable or unfair situation, that is the redressal. So, here to redress the unfair situation, or you can say to redress, or you can say to have turnaround, there must be some incentives to the top management. that is not there, fixed tenure is not there. So, he is talking about present drawbacks in the banking system. And when PSBs with their revolving door top managements have little incentive or accountability to redress the burgeoning imbalance in their balance sheets. Burgeoning means quick, fast. Please look into the meaning of burgeoning. This burgeoning means which develops quickly. So, this burgeoning imbalance in the balance sheets. Balance sheet is nothing but a financial statement, assets on one side, liabilities on the other side. This is the balance sheet. So, in the balance sheets there is a lot of imbalance, and that imbalance is burgeoning. That means it developed quickly. That means the NPAs are increasing quickly. So, in that context he used this. Please go back to the paragraph. And when PSBs with their revolving door top managements have little incentive or accountability to redress, that means to set right the bad situation, the burgeoning means which developed quickly, burgeoning imbalance in their balance sheets. It is time the largest shareholder delivers an ultimatum, shape up or be prepared to face the consequences. As I have already told you, either perform or perish. That is the ultimatum given by the largest shareholder. Who is the largest shareholder? Largest shareholder is central government. So, this central government has given an ultimatum to shape up or face the consequences, either perform or perish. So, that type of this warning is given by the central government with its tough love, right. So, please understand these words. This redress, this is setting right an undesirable or unfair situation. Burgeoning means which develops quickly. Then balance sheet, this is the financial statement that shows a company's assets and liabilities at a particular time. Then ultimatum is a warning or most threatening, and sometimes the last one also. Ultimatum means warning, usually most threatening, and sometimes the last warning also. That the center has chosen to include the employees unions in the proposed MOUs. What the center has said? The center has said include employees unions also. When you are making turnaround plan, please include employees unions also. So, center has chosen to include the employees unions in the proposed MOUs. It intends to enter into with the lenders is also indicative of the seriousness with which it is approaching the resolution this time around. This time the center has told to include employees unions also in the memorandum of understanding which is going to be signed, indicating the turnaround plan of the banks. That indicates that center is approaching to solve this problem in a different perspective this time, because staff who have been a key element in the growth and development of the sector, staff who have been a key element in the growth and development of the sector have a vested interest in the health of PSBs. The risk of continued failure is closure and job losses. They have vested interest. What is their vested interest? Vested interest, the meaning is strong personal interest or in something because you could get advantage from it. Because why he called vested interest is, if the bank collapses, who will lose the jobs? The bank employees will lose the jobs. That is why the bank employees have got vested personal interest, or you can say vested interest, right. So, bank employees have got vested interest in the health of PSBs because the risk of continued failure is closure and job losses. Next one is, to be sure, the center has to work simultaneously. To be sure, the center has to work simultaneously in close concert with the banking regulator and the lenders themselves. It has to work in close coordination with the banking regulator and the lenders. Banking regulator means RBI, lenders means banks. So, it has to work in close agreement. This concert, what is the meaning of concert? Concert is an arrangement or agreement. Concert has got two meanings. One is musical performance given in public is concert. One meaning of concert is musical performance given in public, and the other meaning is basically agreement or arrangement. Tata Sons and Docomo were not able to concert a settlement, and subsequently the matter went to arbitration, right. So, here it has to work in close coordination with the banking regulator and public sector banks to structure appropriate mechanisms to enable the implementation of the turnaround plans, including resolution of the stressed assets. Stressed assets means NPAs and restructured assets, both are termed as stressed assets. So, here they have to introduce appropriate mechanism to enable the implementation of turnaround plans, including resolution of the stressed assets. Also, as Mr. Acharya pointed out, the public sector bank managements would need to be empowered. They have to be empowered so that haircuts, I told you several times, haircut meaning is basically reduction in the amount of money. Haircut means reduction in the amount of money. If 100 crores is the loan, then they may have to face the losses. Losses may be 50 crores, 40 crores. For that, bank management should not be held accountable. Here what happens? When the bank takes a decision with the huge haircuts, there is a fair possibility that enforcement directorate or vigilance may enter and arrest the CEO. That fear is there in the bank's management. So, here haircuts means reduction in the amount of money. Here, as per this passage, also as Mr. Acharya pointed out, the public sector bank managements would need to be empowered so that the haircuts taken by banks under a feasible plan would be required by government ruling as being acceptable by the vigilance authorities. So, here vigilance authorities, CBI or Directorate of Enforcement, they should not interfere, and that should be acceptable. The haircuts, the losses must be acceptable to the country's enforcement directorate or Central Bureau of Investigation. Look at the next paragraph, and here we discussed about debt and equity. Debt is different, equity is different. So, please understand, last time also I discussed, debt is simply giving loan, that is known as a debt instrument. If you are taking ownership, that becomes equity instrument. The stipulation of a 3-year time limit for the implementation of the turnaround is also significant, as Indian lenders have to meet Basel III capital regulations by March 31, 2019. Here 3-year period is given for turnaround, and this is also significant as Indian banks have to meet Basel III capital regulations by March 31, 2019. There is therefore little time to lose, and the government and the banks have their work cut out. What is the meaning of work cut out? Work cut out means the company has got something very difficult to do, then we call work cut out. Vodafone and Idea have their work cut out in the lead up to the merger. So, here work cut out. So, there is little time to lose, there is no time in fact to lose, and the government and the banks have their work cut out. That means there is lot of difficult task ahead, they have to do this difficult task. If India is to avoid the spectre of weak banks having little incentive to lend and economic activity affected for want of credit. Spectre, what is the meaning of spectre? This is idea of something unpleasant that might happen in future. This word is used to indicate the idea of something unpleasant that might happen in future. under those circumstances, this spectre is used, this word, please understand carefully. Drought conditions have raised the spectre of this food shortages for millions of people across Africa, and please use this to indicate unpleasant situation in future. When some unpleasant situation is there in future, then only use this word, otherwise for pleasant situations you should not use this. So, here if India is to avoid if India is to avoid the spectre of weak banks having little incentive to lend and economic activity affected for want of credit. So, he is telling the task is cut out, most difficult task is ahead, and that is to be done by both the government and the banks if India has to avoid the spectre of weak banks having little incentive to lend and economic activity affected for want of credit. So, to avoid that unpleasant situation, there is a huge task ahead for the government as well as the banks. The work is this work is cut out, this cutout is used when some difficult task is to be executed. In this paragraph, please be careful about this cutout as well as this spectre. These two words are very important. And Basel norms, this is capital adequacy norms, 9% capital adequacy ratio is to be ensured by 31st March 2019. At the same time, liquidity coverage ratio is to be ensured by 1st January 2019. So, these are Basel III norms, please do not forget. And we discussed about cutout as well as spectre, and tomorrow our discussion is on health policy. Now, to walk the talk, this is Economic Times editorial of 23rd. We are going to deliberate on new health policy tomorrow, and today's lecture in a nutshell: central government gave tough love to 10 weak public sector banks by giving some money, and at the same time it gave 3 years time to make a turnaround. If it is able to turn around within 3 years time, okay, otherwise we are not going to support you. That is the strong tough message sent by the central government to weak public sector banks, right. So, tomorrow we are going to deliberate on health policy. So, for today we are concluding here. So, have a nice day. Thank you.